So this week, the first Thursday, there's no Rangers game in no one's here. Kafa. That's how it goes.
I don't have an excuse. As long as there's an excuse.
I have no conflict
No.
with my hand, so
Knicks are out.
I'm kind of useless.
The Leafs are still in.
Hockey. I have no idea.
Okay. Heter iska. I said let's go. We'll take probably, I'd say, at least 2 weeks to do it. But let's jump in. So, first we need a background iska. We need a background information. What is iska? Iska is a sugyo before we get to heter iska. Okay? So, talk about this concept. Heter iska. What is it? Gemara Kuf Daled Amud Beis and Bamid Sia. It's not in his own eshech actually, this Gemara. But the Gemara says, Amri Nardoi, Hi Iska. When the Gemara talks about Iska, Palga Milva, you want to join the share? We got to get our numbers up. You guys want to join? What? No. Palga Milva and Palga Pikada. What is an iska is a business venture. Two people take a business venture together. Now, like any good business venture, one guy is providing the money, one guy is providing the expertise, the service, right? So that iska, when that guy provides the money, what happens is let's just say he provides $1,000, right? I would say it would be a lot more to start a business, but let's just keep it simple, low numbers, $1,000. It becomes, the way Chazal see this, it's palga milvo, palga bikod. The way they set it up is essentially lending you half the money, meaning half the money now is yours, and half the money you are holding on to as mine. It's a pikada. You're like a shomer on it, right? Why? Why should I do with anything? Okay. The reason being is because we're assuming that they're splitting the whatever profits this business makes down the middle. Now, what does that split come from? Where does that right to split the profits down the middle come from? I mean, on the one hand, it was my money, the guy who invested it. On the other hand, you now have the money. So, Mamanashach. Why should we be splitting the revachim? So it says the Gemara, the reason why we split revachim when we own a business venture together, you work, I give. The reason why we split the revachim is because it's chatzi milva, chatzi pikadon. Half the money was a loan to you. And half the money remained mine. Therefore, if you make $100 profit, 50 of it is seen as coming from the money that was lent to you and is yours. 50 of it is seen as coming from the pikadon money and is mine. That is when we talk about iska. That's the call this Gemara establishes. That is what iska means.
Is that a similar framework for Zachar Zivon?
Potentially. I have no idea. You mean like, do we get like half the reward together and split it? Because it's like chatzimo. It's an interesting idea. Is there such a thing? That would be fascinating if someone says that.
The Zachar are taking these loans to court.
Right. And they donned it as a chatzimo, chatzi pikadon type thing. Yisachars took zvuns to court because they weren't giving them enough money.
Or the guy wasn't learning enough.
So the zvun took the yisachar.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. But anyway, now the question is there a ribbis problem in this iska situation? But that's what iska means. But is there a ribbis problem? So it says the Mishnah, yes, it is a problem with ribbis. Why is it a problem with ribbis? Right? The classic heter iska is actually not such a heter because the Mishnah says iska is aser. Why is this aser? It says ein moshivim l'kavani l'machzi schar. You are not allowed to be moshiv v'chenvi l'machzi schar. That means, Rashi explains, that means exactly this case. You cannot tell someone, I think the store is a good investment. I want you to run the store. I'm going to invest X amount of money, and you're going to get half the schar, and I'm going to half the schar. Says Rashi, why? Because you're getting half the schar, half the profits from your own half. It was a chatzi alva. I'm getting half my profits from the pikadon, okay? But here's the problem, says Rashi. Why are you willing to work? You're working double, right? I lent you money, and I took a pikadon. Why are you willing to just work on my chelik pikadon for free? You should say, oh, very nice. Half of this is still yours. Okay, I'm not going to work on. Let's decide which half of the store is yours, because I'm not going to work on that half of the store. I'm going to work on my half of the store. You're working doubly hard. Why? Because the guy lent you money. The guy lent you half of the money that he put into investing in this business. Because he lent you half of the money, you're willing to work on this entity, on this entire business, and give him an entire 50% that he has rights to. So he's basically getting free labor from you, right? By lending you money, he's getting free labor. That's how the Gemara looks at this.
You can't consider him as a sucker. You're paying him.
But what are you paying him? You're not paying him anything.
Whatever you both get out of it.
No, but the point is the way iska is set up is he is entirely right, has rights to hit the half he gets because it was a halva.
Okay, so the idea of when you have somebody working with you, the sub, whatever it is, right? So the point of that is that in certain cases, you split the profits. I have a guy who works with me, right?
Right.
I get a job, he does a sealed system, we split the profit.
Okay.
Right? So the same way here. If you go into business somewhere, you're saying if there may be a loss, then who gets that, right? But let's say you both can make a profit, right?
Okay.
So the idea is that you're paying him to do work for you, but
Why?
you're both going to split.
In what way? What did you pay him? You didn't.
You invested in it so that he.
So,
you
but
gave
okay,
him
but
money.
what does investment mean? And we have to
you're
look
saying-
at it in the eyes of Chazal. Investment means I gave you a halva. That's what investment means. I lent you half the money, and you get profits from half that money that you deserve because they're yours. It's yours. I lent it to you.
Who said I didn't pay you to work for me?
That's what you're saying. Chazal don't say that. Chazal say hi iska is palga milva palga pikodim. That's what you have to get into the mind of Chazal. That is how they see a business investment. Half of it is a straight halva. So half of it is I lent you money. So whatever profits you take from your half is yours. You have rights to it. It was your money. You borrowed it. So by me now having you work on my half, I'm getting free labor out of it.
Saying Gadam is my half.
Mm-hmm.
The Gadam is my half.
Because it's my half, but I'm getting
free.
I'm getting free labor by having you work on it, by having you work on my half for nothing. I didn't give you anything except for halva. I'm not allowed to do that. That's ribbis.
Is it Ribbis unless I'm Shav Pruta?
What?
Is it Ribbis unless I'm Shav Pruta?
Why? It's a lot of work.
No, but I'm saying every single molecule, everything's like half, meaning so therefore perhaps it's like it's like I'm
Split
saying
down the
it's
middle.
Midas Sodom or whatever the
No, I lent you when I gave you $1,000. For the business, I lent you $500.
So it's not
And now because of that $500, you worked for a month for me. You're working for a month. That's more than a Shabbat Fruta.
No, but I'm saying it's not like you're splitting the store literally right and left. It's like every single aspect of the store, the molecule of the store is.
It's not really the store. It's more money that I invested. I'm not sure why you look at it. It's not a shutfus. It's a shaila, is a doim and a shutfus when you get shvur that we'll get to, and that's a very important shaila in heter iska. But it's not a shutfus. It's not a partnership necessarily. It's not your classic partnership where half the store or his own. I invested money. Half of it is totally halva to you. Half of it is you working on my money, you investing my money. But you're working hard on my money for what reason? Because I lent you money. And allowed you to take after vachim. So essentially, you gained from lending him money. That's an important background when it comes to iska. Now, the Lamaisa, the Gemara, just to be clear, the Gemara Paskins halach Lamaisa, because it's that this is really only a Ribbis D'Rabbanan, and the Gemara Paskins even a mashu is enough. As long as you pay him a tiny amount, that's really enough. Because Lamaisa, the person say it's called what we call kavillatory. He's working on the store anyway. So extra work is not really. It's not doing a whole extra job. I'm investing money. I invest half. I invest a little more. Maybe I have to be a little more careful because it's a lot. So the Rishonim explain it. It's only a Ribbis D'Rabbanan. Why is it only a Ribbis D'Rabbanan? It's a good question. But it is only a Ribbis D'Rabbanan, and therefore, since it's only a Ribbis D'Rabbanan, a little bit, even a mashu is enough. But you taka have to pay a mashu. So if someone wants to set up, this is just the background information that's going to set up heter iska. If someone wants to set up an iska, we're not at heter iska yet. Iska. Someone wants to invest in someone's business, legitimately investing in someone's business. The way to do it properly, as a chazal, is to give him a little bit extra, so that he now has payment for his schar tircha. You have to give him a mashu extra.
You're paying him to work with you.
You should, yes,
That was right.
but you have to pay him to work for you.
So
You have to pay him a little
that's
extra.
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Do we say Breira between these two things? I'm curious.
It's not a shutfus. That's what I said. It's not a Breira isn't a shutfus. It's not a shutfus. We're not partners really together. I mean,
Breira is not a shutfus. It comes out of shutfus, but it's not a shutfus only question.
but what would the Breira mean here?
Like, do we see that each person is separate and they're...
Let's say they are separate. Then what?
So then it clarifies the ribbons, because we know...
Why?
when
It's still ribbis. It makes it even more ribbis. Good. There's a bathroom. Go to those two sliding doors. So there's a bathroom there.
And it'd be like mashu.
Yeah, you're right.
On your right side.
No, after you go through the doors, he's saying it's on your right side. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Okay, let's. I hear Brer is a whole nother. It's a can of worms. So let's.
I'm spicing it up a little bit.
All right, yeah, I appreciate it. Always count on you, Ellie. Oh, we need a Sky.
This and napkins instead, okay?
I'm very mocked by that. If you say you're taking a tissue, to take a tissue.
Should I go get tickets?
Okay, fine. That's now. Let's get into like I said, Adkan basically is the sugya of iska. Now let's get into heter iska. So the heter iska really started where about if we travel back 500 years, maybe even a little earlier than that. Sma Trumas Hadesh, I think was earlier. Trumas Hadesh was a Risha, was a little earlier. Trumas Hadesh and Leves, you know that. Okay, but the Sma, the Marami Krakow, also 1500s around there. They basically discussed, the Sma is a whole kuntres on it. The Sma is one of the Mefarshim on Shulchan Aruch. In the back of Shulchan Aruch, maybe Shul Falk, in the back of Shulchan Aruch, he has a kuntres to explain this idea that's coming up about heter iska. And essentially, they explain that money was difficult to come by. And the bottom line is to be in the game, you got to be able to play the game. And the game was lending money and dealing in interest, and it was it was not easy times. What? Yeah, it was not an easy time to be making money. So they realized that they need to come up with an eitzah to try to help people to make a living. So basically, what they established what the idea was like this. Now, there's 4 steps to heter iska. Okay, so we'll see if we can get through all 4 of them today. But the way I will break it down is four steps. The first step is when I want to lend you money, right? This is a write up. That's what Yehuda Goerner's alley. This is what, if I understand correctly, this is like hard money landing starts with this. It's not on Zoom. It's just a recording. Maybe he'll text me if you. I think he's pretty good about listening to Shurim. Although it's my fault I haven't posted the release Shurim yet. Exactly. Now we'll know. So it starts with, I think, a pretty similar concept to the way I was saying hard money lending works. That the idea being that rather than structure something as a loan, if you come to me and lend you money, say, "Hi, can you lend me money? I really need it." I was like, "Okay, I'd love to lend you this money, but money is time is money, as they say, and having you borrow this money from me and me not having my pocket means I'm losing out. And I know the Torah doesn't allow me to charge interest, so what can I do?" So what they say is basically, instead of structuring it as a halva, you structure it as an iska. I'm essentially investing in you, right? You need money to do what? Presumably to do something with it, hopefully make some money with it, right? So I'm investing in you, and I'm saying, you do what you need to do with this money. We are going to structure this as an investment. And because we're structuring it as an investment, it now becomes not entirely halva. It's chatzi milva, chatzi pikadon. Half of it is entirely yours to do what you want it. Half of it is supposed to be pikadon to me. Now I'm going to turn a blind eye to what happens to this, to this money. But half of it is considered, has a din pikadon on it. And when half it has and therefore I have a right to interest. I have a right to, not interest, I shouldn't say interest, sorry, I should say revachim, to profits from my half pikadon. Okay, that is the first step. Now on this, there's a major question that has to do with how we do nowadays. What's bothering you?
Well, question number 1 is someone, let's say, borrowing money and they have a loss. Borrowing money not for investment, borrowing money on someone to pay rent for their apartment.
Yeah. You're sitting by the ice cream truck and you're like, "Oh man, I got no money. Can I borrow $5?" Because like, well, I'd like $6 back, right? It's like, okay, great, let's do a heter iska. I happen to have a star here in my pocket, right? I mean, you're borrowing money to buy a thing of ice cream, right? How is that an iska? I'm not just giving an extreme example. I don't know if that ever happens, although you never know. But the point is, the idea is that plenty of people are using heter iskas in situations where there's no intention of using this money for investment. They're using it for anything from paying for a wedding to.
If I have a company, I want to buy a machinery, right?
Right.
That's considered heter.
That would be a very legitimate iska that then gets you into heter iska. Right, that's real iska. But the question is that people, if someone goes to a rich person and says, "I really need to make after a class, I don't have enough money, can I borrow money from you?" He may have him sign a heter iska to be able to pay him some interest, right? Mm-hmm. That's nothing to do with what iska is here there. He told I'm making a chasna with it. Like what kind of interest is? But people do that.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
And then
There are other examples of it. Banks in Eretz Yisrael are using heter iskas on everything, and not. What?
How does that scenario work?
So you want to know how is that? How can that be an iska?
Yeah.
So there's a couple ways to go about it. Shlomo Zalman is way of understanding is basically he says ignorance is bliss. You can turn it doesn't matter. You don't. It's not as far as the Noisen is concerned. He is giving you money to invest. What you do with it is none of his business. He is telling you, you need money. I'm telling you, my money is valuable. I need to make money off of this money, so I want you to invest this money. Whatever you do with it, you do with it. But I'm going to get my revachim out of it. Using the mechanics of heter iska that we haven't gotten to yet. We're still at the first step. Remember, there's 4 stages. But at the first step, we're just figuring out what is an iska. Shlomo says the malva can plead the fifth. It doesn't matter. It's saying it's not when we sign an iska. I'm telling you, I'm giving this money to invest. What you do with it is your business. I don't. It's not important to me. I don't have to do it. Yeah.
No, but also the giving is it's an action of trust. It's saying, here's my money, I trust you to make money with that. That's the answer.
Others say that in a company, let's say, and this would require certain details. This won't work in all cases. But let's just say, for example, I need to pay for a chasna, but I have investments, I have assets. Maybe I own a home. Maybe I have some stocks. Maybe I own a bungalow. They're tied. I'm not selling my home to pay for my chasna. I'm not mortgaging my home to pay for my chasna. So basically, what I do is you're right. This money didn't directly go to investment, but I flip it. Basically, I take that money and say, okay, I'm using that money to pay for the chasna in order to hold my home, and that becomes the iska. The home becomes the investment, and the home becomes the egg that's making the profits. Real estate is a good investment, and that's basically I invest in real estate by being able to keep my home or more equity in my home. By this that you allowed me to pay off the chasna. Now, but that would require a person to actually have assets. A kid who's borrowing money at the ice cream truck would not be able to use heter iska then. He has no assets.
Can you put a lien, for example? You just a further thing on this, right? If I say I want to borrow money from you, right? And then you say, okay, heter iska, but I want to lien on your house.
Yeah.
Is that allowed in that case? Meaning if you can't pay up, I'm taking your house.
Well,
You could, but that doesn't need to happen at every heter iska. The point is the heter iska is that
A guy comes to you for $100,000, right?
right. So you want to know, like these shitas, does it automatically become a lien on whatever assets he has? You don't know which asset first of all, okay? But let's say you only had one asset. Would it become a lien on it? I think it's discussed. I have to look it up again. I mean, you could do it. The question is, you want to know, does that happen automatically?
Do we do it then?
Okay, I guess we're not
is
shooting,
it
but
done?
meaning, would he actually be able to collect the house?
Yes.
He can collect the house anyway. Why can't he collect the house? The guy owes him money. You want to know, if he sold it, it would be a complicated case. We're making nafkamina. I'm not saying there's no nafkamina, but you have to. It'll be
Because there's
complicated.
changes also in pricing. When he sells it, he's using this language. It's a lot complicated.
Okay, so that's one. So
This thing, about housing or untied assets being a backup, is that a silverstein?
I don't remember. What?
Is it that or some of the Chassidish guy, what's his name? The Chassidish guy who's Chassidish.
I don't know. Chaim Cohen?
Yeah.
I don't think so. He's the Baal member. I think it's a Shalom Eshev. What?
Can you everything that's happening go down here?
Oh, okay. Why aren't you asleep?
That's wants to have to risk with me.
Yeah.
Too loud.
Too loud. That's why you can't go to sleep. Is Leia asleep? So go up to my bed if Mom lets you.
All right, to bring out some more seltzer.
Yeah, grab me. ST, go up to my bed if Mom lets you. Anyway, okay. That's. I think it's way. I think it's Shalom Eshev says this type of idea. Yeah, if I recall
Also half
correctly.
of Israel is like cash poor property.
Right. So the other answer, this I think is Rabbi Yashav, as I say, that even if he doesn't have any assets, but everyone is essentially seen as a money making venture. So when you lend me money, that means I don't have to go in debt for something else. You're investing in me. You can invest in the person and the person's overall financial health. So that's an investment, and that's considered an iska. That I'm saying, okay, I believe you are going to be able. You are a money-making machine. Right now you're in debt. So by helping you to cover your debt, so that you don't go worse into debt, I'm helping you, and I believe in you, and I'm investing in you. Essentially, that's like the type of idea. that type of deal. I'm saving you from other things, and that's considered enough of an investment.
How does that, what about the case of either going at a loss, meaning a person's, let's say it's an investment, and then the investment goes for a loss.
Yeah.
So there's no, like, how could you charge interest on that? I think if you're saying I'm investing in you, and then all of a sudden, whatever.
Why are you asking that more than any other case of iska? Let's say he taco borrows it for a business, and I put it in the business, and the business
Well, then
flops.
if you're mama shiftless or mama then you both losing out. Over here, you want.
But heter iska doesn't work. Heter, we have to get to the next steps of heter iska, because heter iska does not, in fact, work like that. In heter iska, I lend you money, and I'm getting my money back, and I'm getting interest back, no matter what happens with your business.
Right, because technically, if it's really I'm using the word shiftless, it's not the right word apparently.
It's iska.
Because
The word is iska.
Right, iska. If it's the case of the shop, the work.
I have more in the back, Ellie, if you want.
The same thing?
Not the same thing.
Squeeze the
No.
bottle.
Now I'm done. You cleared me out. Heaven's door.
Where's the back?
Go in the den. There's a box. You'll see, like, there's a little table. There's like a box behind it. You'll find that there's something in there.
So that's the problem, because if he loses, right?
Yeah.
How's that a heter iska?
So we have to get. So we're jumping the gun a little bit. That we're only at step one. There's four. There's four more steps. You're good. You're asking good. There's four more steps. 3 more steps at risk. We're only at step one.
And even if you're getting a gain, you're not asking for a percentage of the gain. You're asking just for a straight up percentage, regardless of what it is.
Correct.
Okay.
That's step 4. So we have to take it one step at a time.
Well,
If it's a loss, you should lose. We get there.
I'm saying-
We're just at the tip here. So now we have to move on to step 2. I said the first step of heter iska is that you turn every loan into an iska. And the bottom line is we do practically people do it even by loans that have no shaykhs to iska, and whatever the answer is, that's done, and it becomes an investment. So that's step number 1. Okay, now let's move on to step number 2. What?
I want to grab everything boxes far next to it.
Okay, that would be good. That would be better. Okay. So what's step 2 to heter iska? Step 2 to heter iska is what happens. The guy who lends us money says, "Hold on, chatzi pikadon." Chatzi pikadon means, like you guys are both saying, I stand to lose. If the business flops, I'm losing half my money. I lent him $100,000. If it's chatzi pikadon, I stand to lose $50,000 if the business goes under. I'm not masking that. I want to lend him money. How do people lend money with interest? When a bank lends you money with interest, they don't care what happens to you. They're getting their Karen back, and they're getting their interest back, and they're going to come after you if they don't get it. That's what I want. I don't want to potentially lose half my $50,000 here. I can't be liable at risk here. So how do they deal with that? So the place can prescribe the following idea. What you say is, okay, you're right. Half of it is a pikadon. Pikadon means you're a shomer. A shomer has certain halachas, has certain responsibilities. You can't be pesheya, right? Marshall, right? You can't be negligent in thing. Let's say you're shomer sacher. They say basically there's I don't want to get into it and how much you're makabel, how much not. But let's say you're makabel even the loivez makabel. Sorry, the malvez makabel kamat full achrayas on it, meaning he's really liable, he's really at risk. But here's the thing: you have to have eidim testify that you weren't pesheya and you didn't mess up here. And not only do you have to have eidim testify that you didn't mess up here, you have to have. They say you can make it. You have to have the rav or the sheikh tzibur has to testify that you didn't mess up. Otherwise, you owe me the pikadon. That's the tanai pikadon. That's the Tanai Pikadon. You can make any Tanai Pikadon. That's the Tanai Pikadon. You can make whatever Tanai Pikadon. That is a Tanai Pikadon. You're allowed to make a Tanai. What?
We don't do the reasonable man argument in terms of tonight.
I don't know what the reason.
A reasonable man would make a certain tonight.
Yeah.
Beyond that, this is like ludicrous tonight.
Tanai can be made on anything ludicrous. 100% it could be.
Yeah.
There's no reasonable manner. If you don't make Tanai Kafla, maybe then that's a different story. But there's different. That's a different story. But if you make Tanai Kafla, you do it proper Tanai. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, so you're saying the second part is a reasonable is what? Okay.
Is that in order to protect myself, how does the person protect himself that he's not going to lose his chelik hapikadon? The way he protects himself is by saying you need to bring edim that you were not peshay on this, and those edim have to be specific people. Now the price can say it has to be specific people who are shaykh. Meaning, I can't say, I don't know, living in America over here, I can't say Ramesh Hill Hirsch, in Eretz Yisrael has to be.
Somebody who's connections.
Right, someone who has a connection to me, I could say, you could say, Rabbi Miller has to be the aegis on this, right? You're lending Elio money. You could say, okay, I'm lending you. The Rav has to be the aid that says that you didn't mess up here. In order for you want to say when the business goes bad, the iska goes bad.
It's
You
like
want to
turning
say
you into the Arab almost.
what?
It's almost turning you into an Arab in some level.
Well,
Not really, because he's not paying it out.
I don't know what
I
who's
think
that. I
that's
always
what it
heard
was, yeah, but
I'm saying an
Why?
element, you're being liable for a
You're
component, even though
co-signing.
you're not co-signing.
It's not- it's
No,
not-
I'm saying you're
But
not
he's
being
not.
Arab, but you're.
who's being turned into an Arab?
You're in this scenario yourself.
Well, I'm definitely not paying, so I'm not.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
But in a way, you have an Aravis for the borrower,
For me.
even though you don't have a Aravis for the loan. But you have to know enough to be able to testify to that the condition even makes any sense in the first place.
You'd have to be somewhat involved in the fact that you
Involved.
could potentially know. As long as you could potentially
But
know.
when they make the
you know-
loan, you're not involved in it. So how do you know what's going on? You only know the end when they bring you forward.
You might be able to see that this person was Pesheya in something, or you might be able to know this person was not Pesheya. That's
when
like,
you make a shutfis and to do a heter isku, you have to be there from the beginning, or you have to be there when it happens. If anything happens.
who's me? Meaning the person who's being
Yes,
made?
yes.
No, I don't have to be there really at all. As
Exactly.
long as it shaykh me to know that they can make that
Exactly.
the
So
thing, and
only
therefore
after the fact you will know whether or not he'll tell you what happened, and you'll say, "Okay, it makes sense. That's possible. I mean, that can happen." And that's all you have to be. You don't have to be there while it's happening. You don't have to be here from the beginning. You can be there at the end.
the way the Tanai, you could have to be there, but the way the Tanai is I would have to come into Bezin and say, I can testify that this guy was not Pesheya, and that's not going to happen. They know that's not going to happen. That's the idea.
What? Based on what? Based on this.
Based on my
character?
knowledge of the situation, no. Based on my knowledge of the situation, and I don't know. Lamais, I don't end up knowing.
So
So therefore, I damn it.
So exactly. So how on earth are you able to be made? if
Because
you're
you
not
give him
invited?
a way of by saying, if he were to stay with you, he could testify on it. I'm there, let's say. So you say, okay, if you have to be the one to testify, to come in and testify that wasn't Pesheya. I say, sure, I accept that responsibility. Now, I know that I'm not going to stay with him 24/7, so I'm not going to be able to testify. And therefore, he's going to end up having to pay, because I can't testify.
Okay,
It's
so
a way to
you're-
protect,
you're saying
it's a way to make it
protect me.
100% ironclad. That's the way to do it.
So it's protect me, but you're not in it, so you can't. Okay.
Right.
So it's a trick.
But here's what you
It's
have
a
to do
trick.
is that here's the thing is that it's a
like a
trick.
loophole.
It's a trick on the pikadon. It's not a trick on the
loan.
chatzi halv on the interest yet. That we have to get to how they deal with the interest. They don't allow this STA. This is not okay. Okay, you must go
Very
upstairs.
good, very
Okay.
good.
It's just guaranteeing the pikadon that you don't lose it.
So the other half is already owned. Is owed.
So it means now I'm guaranteed to get my Karen back. The halva is for sure get back because that he owes me the 50. The 50% he owes me,
Yeah.
and the other 50% there was a pikadon where I stood at
So you're
risk.
covering the bases.
I cover myself risk. Then I'm getting back.
All the bases.
Then I'm getting back my money.
Okay, you're covering your bases.
That's step number
Next
2.
level.
Now the next level is okay. How do I guarantee the profits, the interest? That's really what we want to get to, right? And that they don't allow the aid on because that taka would be ridiculous to say. An aid has to be made that there weren't revachim here. You know,
So
that doesn't make sense.
You can pay not to.
How is a person supposed to know there weren't revachim?
Especially since you don't know if I'm a Picano either.
What?
Especially
Right,
since you
right.
don't know whether or not the Picano is.
For whatever reason, there's a bunch of reasons given. You can't make this condition on the interest part of it. You need an aid to testify that you didn't make revachim.
Careful,
So-
you didn't take over passing. You're gonna be.
Yeah.
I'm curious how, like, what's the Mashiach exactly correcting for?
What?
What's the shvua that is correcting?
Shvuah is next. We didn't get to Shvuah yet. We didn't say Shvuah. The Edom?
But the concern about Mashiach, what is it correcting for?
Because it's
Seems
shomer.
like-
Is a shomer is technically,
He's a shomer.
Yeah.
It's allowing me to
Overcome the shomer to be like.
right to overcome the shomer and say even though it was a pikadon and really you should be able to pot yourself, you can't because you don't have the proper edim. We said the only way you're going to be pot yourself here is if you have edim that say such and such a thing happened. The edim are not here to testify, so you can't
It
do
seems like an
it.
extraneous step if like there's plenty of stars that point to everyone being aware of the situation. So it seems like a very it seems
What do
like,
you mean?
Like the whole. I think the whole meta halachic approach of Hilchos Ribbis is minimizing power of Bezdin, so it doesn't get too involved in investment affairs. So this extra level of Mashiach shows that like we're sort of concerned about something that's not so obvious. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't follow you. Yeah, I lost you. Yeah.
Because the whole the point. Okay, the Supreme Court should not be the part of the Supreme Court versus the other two branches of the government is that they're sort of shrouded in mystery. They're only involved in cases in American culture or American law. It's like, in theory, they're out of public eye.
I'm sorry. You're trying to make this easier to understand or harder because I'm losing even more. What does Supreme Court have to do with this?
The mystery.
What? Yeah.
I was trying to say the Rabbanim should be, they're pulling out in certain areas.
Yeah, like
Please.
What does that have to do with this? Where does that
So
come
I
up
think
here?
This issue of Shia is like extra, it's resident being involved, and it's adding extra maneuvers. For, like, essentially, the whole point of Hilchos Ribbis is protecting Kayach Bezdin, and that preserving it so it doesn't get too.
I'm not sure if I agree with that statement. I'm not sure. Okay, maybe.
It's literally the second shot in Hilchos Ribbis, 60 minutes.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
But
Yeah.
my question is like, based on like the agreement that the people are getting to, it seems that Shia is not concerned. It's not concerned because every step of the way is like not a shomer idea. And the whole point, the whole it's obvious to all players that there's no shemira aspect to that. My question is, why are we going through this extra step?
I don't know what extra step. I actually think the extra step is very necessary. I'm not sure what the
It's no
extra
extra
step is.
step.
You need to protect yourself. The guy needs to protect himself that he gets back his 100% of his carrot. The way to protect himself is by creating a tanai that's a legitimate tanai, but makes it that it's essentially impossible for
He can't
100%.
verify, he's not with
Other
it the whole
cases
entire
are
time, he doesn't know.
that they had, and I'm wondering.
I don't know of that.
So-
The second part is more complicated, the shul part, but that's.
He's talking about 280 and 1, 280, right?
280.
So therefore,
one.
you can't make a
Why
shul
not
have
make
to be cut, you can say the whole, I don't know.
What?
You can't, so therefore, you can't make a shul and after himself.
Yeah.
That 8 is there to make it that he can't, or what?
That he can't make a shul and pot
That's,
himself, and
I
that,
was thinking, that's the whole reason why he's there.
correct. That he cannot make a shul and get out of it, and
He
therefore,
sorry.
and he would not be able to make a shul as a sharmim, and therefore, the 8 is there. The fact that he didn't fulfill his condition of bringing the 8 means that now he has to.
But technically, if the 8 doesn't know, right?
Yeah.
The 8 doesn't know, he
Okay.
technically said, I can swear. He can swear because they don't have.
No, but the
anything to
condition
say.
is the 8 needs to come and swear that he knows, not that he doesn't know that he knows.
But he knows what?
That he knows you weren't pesher. He
Oh,
knows
so
you didn't
you're
do
saying
anything
it
wrong.
has to be a positive, like a positive identification, but
Right.
a positive, say,
How does that not dilute the power of shul?
it doesn't, because it's not there, there's no shul.
Why is?
You
What do you
can't make
mean?
a shul to it.
The whole point of this sermon making a shul of shul shatim shul shatim yad is that there's a koch of shul here. Adding this person in dilutes that power. No? Ostensibly.
Ostensibly, but you're allowed to do it. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure.
No,
And you can add the condition if you want. Huh?
No, just coming up to me that we don't need that because the whole point is that nobody, I mean, maybe today, but nobody would make a shul unless it's there. That's the koch of shul.
No, okay, so.
But a guy is allowed to say, "I'll lend you money," but I don't. I'll give you. I want you to watch me, but I don't trust you, so I'm not going to trust your shul. I want a stronger condition.
He
Person
can't
could
do
say
it.
that.
He can't do that. He
That's
can't
not
bring
right,
a
yeah.
shul anymore because once you bring in the Eidim in the beginning,
I don't know.
even if they're not there in the middle where it happened, once you bring in the Eidim in the beginning, you're already knocking out the shul. You understand?
You're
what I'm saying?
knocking out the shul. He's making a shul.
I call you up, I say, you, and somebody else, I call him up also, I say, you guys are gonna be made if anything happens that, that you don't know. Meaning at that point you're ready, the shul, meaning if you, if that you know, you need a positive identification, that you know that he wasn't Pesheah. Now, since you already have the Eidim in the game, his shul is knocked off. He can't use his shul anymore as an excuse. Meaning,
I'm not. Are you explaining the point
I'm
or?
saying, yeah, my point.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine. So then, if you're
that
explaining the
makes
point,
sense.
then I think let's move on then.
Okay.
So let's move on. Well, let's move on to the third step. I said there's 4 steps. We probably won't get to the 4th step tonight, but let's try to at least get through the 3rd step. So far, the first step is you take every halva and basically you make it into an iska. Fine. But now iska still leaves a person at risk of losing even his 50%. He doesn't want to lose. Besides for not getting interest, which we're going to get to in a second, he has losing his karen, his 50% karen. So now we guarantee the karen essentially by making this tanai that sounds wild, but that's the whole point is it's wild to make it guaranteed that you have to have a specific kind of edim. You have to have a specific edim come and testify that in order to pater you from paying me for the pikadon when you don't have it, when you don't bring it back. Okay. Now, then the next step. Okay, so but I want to guarantee my interest too, right? By iska, I'm not guaranteed to get interest. If the investment grows, I get. If not. It's like investing any money. But the whole point of lending with interest is that I'm guaranteed to be getting 5% return on my investment. So how am I guaranteeing the revacha? So this also is 2 steps, but we're going to do the first step of it tonight. The first step of it is that what you do is you tell the person, I don't trust you that there weren't revakim here. You're going to come and say, you invested $1,000, business was, let's call it okay, because we broke even, right? Fine, we broke even. I'm going to give you back your $1,000. We broke even, but there were no revakim, there were no profits. I don't believe you that there were no profits. So you need to make a shvua to me. You're going to have to be nishpa that there were no profits, right? And essentially, what happens is the guy is not going to be nishpa. Nowadays, we really avoid shvua as much as possible. The guy is not going to be nishpa. He's not going to actually make that shvua. And when he doesn't make that shvua, instead he's going to say they're basically going to come up with a number that they're willing to settle on. They're going to make up shar, this pashas. They're basically going to settle on a number which is, let's call it 5%. I gave you $1,000 investment. I want 5% interest, right? So on the $1,000 investment, in order to get my 5% interest, what I say is like this: I don't know how many revachim you can make from this. As far as I'm concerned, you could be making 20% revachim off of this. I don't know. But you might make 0. I have no idea. So when you come and you want to tell me how much revachim is, you need to make a shvua on whatever you're going to say. Unless, and if you don't want to make a shvua, if you want to get out of making that shvua, you got to pay. You got to give me 5%. Can get you out of the shvua.
Is that b'diavad? Is that shar b'diavad or l'chachila?
Well, we're using it as a l'chachila.
I'm asking you, in the law, is that b'diavad or?
Is it what?
B'diavad or l'chachila?
Meaning in a ribbis, you're asking a ribbis question or a question outside of that?
Outside of this.
When you set it up, I don't know if it's l'chil or b'diavad. It's option A or option B. It's one or either. It's 1A, 1B.
Also, it feels like we're forcing the guy. Because like he has no choice. He's like, there's no shvua.
Well, he could make a shvua.
And that's what I'm saying.
And people have done it before. We can make a shvua.
And they get patterned of it?
They get popped of it. No one's ever going to lend you money again. But
Well, let's go to why is it? How much do you make the right? Why does he have to give he's saying, okay, there's no.
what? Yeah, so you want to know? Well, first of all, a person could be mechayiv shvua. I could make you make a. Again, here's one thing you have to understand. When I'm dealing money with you and I'm giving you money, I can make up whatever conditions I want.
I hear you saying.
So you want, and maybe there's a different question that why isn't the etzim fact that you're being mechayiv yourself in a shvua ribbis? That might be a good question. Okay, there's always that's the secondary question in the ribbis world as a ribbis. But in the choshen mishpat from a dinei momnus, I can tell you make a shvua to me, and if you accept it, then you got to do it, right? It happens to be that the Shitas Harambam is that mikoyach shvuas hashutfim, I can be mechayiv you mikra I didn't to make a shvua.
There's no like how much you make the right. I mean, I have the money right now, so like you're trying to say that there's more money.
But there's a halacha called shvuas hashutfim. Now, whenever 2 shutfim are together and dealing with money in partnership, because shutfim are often, it's an important klal to remember if you ever go into a business partnership with somebody. Shvuas hashutfim, there's a concept. Whenever shutfim are working together, they tend to be more heter and say, I'm doing a lot more, I'm working harder, and therefore I'm going to take extra. Therefore, there is a din called shvuas hashutfim that partners in a business can always be mechayiv the other one in shvua.
Okay.
Right. So according to the Rambam holds. I kept saying iska is not shutfas, but I mentioned there is a Rambam that it's done when it comes to shvuas hashutfim. The Rambam holds. Rambam shita that iska is a shvuas hashutfim. That when I invest in a business and you work the business, we have that same idea that because you could be more heter and take your money, I have a right ikra did to mechayiv you shvua on the revachim as well. All right. So the Rambam is the best eitzah here. Why the shvua, where the shvua comes from, and why the shvua is not ribbis. And ikra din, I can be mechayiv in the shvua. So I put on you the shvua. Now people don't like making shvuas. People don't make shvuas nowadays. Okay, very good. You don't want to make a shvua. You don't want to make a shvua. Give me the 5%. Okay, so that's the third step of heter iska. And first step is you turn every halva into iska. Second step is you protect yourself from the chelek hapikodon by making the tanai edim. The third step is how do I guarantee? I almost guarantee myself the racham. I can't really guarantee them completely. I essentially guarantee them to me by putting a chiyuv shvur on the guy and giving him an out for the chiyuv shvur by saying you can pay me 5%. The fourth level I really explained to you is the 5%, but we have to talk about the lumdus of that. I'll say it next time. That's a whole that makes a lot of big nafkaminas in heter.
Yeah, is very helpful I think in many ways.
Okay.
Because number one, I think it takes the problem I raised before about diluting the shvur. Number two, it also allows the lender, if you will, or the financial.
There are 2 different shvuas, by the way. The shvur we talk about before is shvuas hasharmim. This is shvuas hashutfim. There's the Shomim on the Chelik HaPikoder, now there's the Shuas HaShurfim on the Revachim.
Right. So the other thing is, that 5% out, forget about the whole 8 other days, whatever. Today, I don't know how that flies. Maybe I'm wrong.
Which one?
The famous photo.
Yeah, the race one, yeah.
Yeah. But the other component, I think, which is nice about that idea, is that the lender still has his recourse. If he finds out later that the guy lied to him or whatever, he can still go after that share of profits. Meaning, you want to get out of Shua, give me 5% of whatever you find. I find out later that really you made 40%, not 22%. I have a right to that 18%, or however that split goes. I'm not walking away from that. I'm just giving you an out for the Shua. That doesn't remove my ability to.
I'm not sure. Okay, we have to talk about that next time. That's interesting to think about because it could be by giving you the 5% option. By giving you the 5% option, I'm telling what. How does that work? The 5% option could be the 5% option is a way of buying out my rights to revoke.
Get out of your Shua and I'm trusting. I still find out later.
But it might be the way, the mechanism of it is a way of buying out my right to revoke.
It's like Ribbis.
Okay, so that I don't want to get into too complicated because
I would say that for next time, but yeah, that's not necessarily.
There's not just
The patch is once you accept that 5%, you're rescinding your right to anything more.
I'll tell you why not. As a simple example of, let's say it's 2% you're arguing about, I could hear that argument. Lost that 18%, I never would have given it.
When the guy originally came and said, "Lend me money at a 5% rate," he definitely did not mean, and if I make 40%, you get more, right? He just meant lend me money at a 5% rate. So the guy said, "Great, I'd love to lend you money at a 5% rate." The guy says, "Okay, but the problem is we have Ribbis Midraisa." Okay, so now we do.
I'll tell you one better. Logically, that 5% me as a buyout, if you will, of excusing the fellow from the shvua, why it doesn't make sense that the lender or the financial investor is walking away from his portion is because if that's the case, then anybody would do that in 2 seconds. I'll give you 5%, I'll get out of my shvua, have a nice day, and finished. The whole motivation for honesty is gone.
Okay, maybe I said a little too strongly in terms of the that it's buying out the shvua. That is one side, and we'll get to it more next week. But let's put a pin at this for next week because it's not. It's not good. We'll hash it out more next week. All right, Akan.